So I'm back once again. This time it's the MadX Fan Art Apocalypse, and it's basically a very huge piece. I got this out of a trade, so I traded with three statues for this one. I was actually originally planning to, I would say, trade it as well for another statue, maybe like the XM Ghost Rider or something, and or sell it. But when I got it on hand, I was really blown away. It is really that good. It has really good presence. So that's why for now I'm keeping it as well. So stay tuned, and I hope you'd like the video and the review. So for paint, quality wise, it has this small chip, white chip paint in the leg. It's not very noticeable at the far point, but actually, if you go closer, you would really notice this or see this one. But for me, it's not a big of a deal. But since it's a quality issue, so I'm giving quality as 3.5. For the color scheme, I'm giving it 4.5 because it's really an apocalypse color scheme. Really beautiful. Really like the different tones of gray and also the blue, and also the rustic colors of the armor. The only complaint for me would be the base. It's quite plain, but nonetheless, it's really good. So I'm giving it 4.5. So one of the best assets for this piece is actually weathering. As you can see here, it's very nicely weathered. I really do like how it's done, so that's why I'm giving it a 5.0. It's basically having this corroded metal in it, or let's say a rusted look in it. So as you can see here, especially in the arms, because this is mostly the parts that you would always notice first when you look at the piece, is his armor. Because it really nicely, as I mentioned, the coloring is very nicely done. That it this rusted metal looking piece is basically complements the gray and the blue. So that's why it looks really good. The weathering is really good. It's somehow very realistic as well. So as you can see here, it looks really corroded. There's some orange on gray, or yeah, basically those kind of combination. As you can see here, look at the orange, looks very realistic. So weathering is very excellent on this piece. So for the shadows and highlights, I'm giving it 4.0. For the fact that in the body itself, the body sculpt or the muscles, there's really not much shadows and highlights there. It's more or less like a very plain paint job. But that would say the armor is actually really nicely done. Even the weathering, so also the shadows and highlights for this one, it looks really good. But again, the it doesn't mean that when you just light it up. The good thing is that the sculpture, or the musculature, is really nicely done. That if you light it correctly, it is nicely, it or it gives a shadow effect in the sculpt. But that is done in the sculpture. But in terms of paint job, I'm just giving it 4.0. So for sculpt quality, it's actually pretty good. I haven't seen any, how would say, big or any damage itself. It's actually quite good. There's no complaints from my side. It has a very nice detail in terms of different contours or edges and everything. It even has a very nice weathered sculpt quality, really good, really nicely done, also quite consistent, so I'm giving the quality, sculpt quality, as 4.5. So for texture, I'm giving it 4.0 because there's really not much texture, especially in the body. It's very smooth, but there's somehow rough texture in the base itself. And then there's also some, how would say, in his legs or in his foot. There's some texture there, but more or less I can feel the much rougher texture in the base, and also some in his armor. So in his armor, you can actually feel that it's not like a smooth surface. It actually has some rough edges, or let's say, even the feel of the armor is somehow a bit rough, but not that much. So that's why I'm giving the texture as 4.0. So the other best asset for this piece is also its weight and size. So I'm giving it 5.0 because with this big piece, it's really heavy, like really heavy. I cannot move him without really removing the body itself, separate it from the base. So I really need to separate both because the base itself is also quite heavy, and in order for me to lift the body, I really need to use both hands and really put some more effort, and because it's really heavy. So I really like how they put this together with its weight and its size. So I'm giving it 5.0. So for the details and complexity of the sculpt, I'm giving it 4.5. First of all, I really love the face sculpt. Look at that expression; it's really good. It's really like apocalypse expression as well. The teeth might, or the gums might have more detail, or can be added with more detail, but actually that's just small part of the sculpt. It has a lot of more detail. Like for example, the armor, as you can see, and then the wrinkles or the grin in his face, or it's really good. It's really well done. That's why I really like the details in this one, especially in the sculpt. The armor itself, the sculpt is really impressive, really good. My only nitpick for this one is that I really wish that they could have added more detail in the base, with just at least the sculpt in the base. That would have been very good. But nonetheless, the sculpt in the body, the armor, the face is really good. So I'm giving this a 4.5. So this piece is actually my kind of piece, wherein even though it's big, but it's actually has a very good design. So as you can see, the design itself really emphasizes that it's apocalypse. There's the size, the color scheme, the pose, the expression. So I really like the concept of this one. It's simple, but it really does convey the apocalypse that we want to see. Not much, not too fancy base, not too crowded in terms also in base, but it has everything that we need from the character itself. So I really like the concept for this one. So I'm giving it 5.0. As you can see in this photo, you can really notice right away that how tight I have a space for him in my collection. So even with this small real estate, it still is able to fit in considering the size. So look at the piece; he looks really huge, but he's able to be inserted at this small real estate here. So displayability is really good in this piece. So I'm giving it 5.0. Assembly wise, it's very easy to assemble, so I'm giving it 5.0. Base itself has only three parts, these two small parts and the base itself. And for the body, it doesn't even have a peg, it's just put there, it would snug because it's very heavy, and then that's it. Other parts is just basically these metal tubes wherein you connect them at the back. They're not that difficult to connect them. I think all of them have the same size or length, and then that's it. Just do be careful because they're metal. So I'm really impressed with the assembly. So I'm giving it 5.0. So for switch outs and mixed media, there's actually a mixed media. Like I mentioned, the tubes are metal. They're actually very nice. They're very strong, I would say, and they have the same length. They are also very easy to pose. So that's what makes this piece also quite unique, because you can actually pose the tubes in his back. I'm not sure though if there's a correct way to connect them, or is there some certain which tube should go here and there, but for me I just connected them as you've seen in the how would say assembly video. But nonetheless, it's quite easy. Just do be careful again, that because you might rub, or because it's metal, you might hit the sculpt. Other than that, there's really no switch out, so that's why I couldn't give this really big in terms of switch outs or mixed media. But the mixed media is really quite good, so I'm giving it 4.0. So there you go. That is MadX Fun Art Apocalypse. It's really good piece, really really big. I really love it. I like the concept as well. It was well executed as well also, and I'm really gonna keep this one for now. Even though it started out just to, let's say, trade and then sell it as well, or trade it again, and yeah, but when I got the piece, I was really blown away. I hope I could get some other customs. I do have coming customs, you will see in a few weeks. And yeah, thank you once again for watching the video and the review. Please also do stay tuned and subscribe for more videos to come.